Hey everybody, this is Sasquatchers. Andrew here with John as always. We're coming at you with a cool paranormal investigator guest tonight. We're going to learn from him and his studies and experiments here after the intro.
The truth is out there. Never stop looking. Never be sheep. Always disrupt. We are the ungovernable. We are the truth seekers. We are Sasquatchers.
And we are sitting here with Lennon O'Hare. Lennon, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization here real quick?
Yeah. First, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. Very excited. My name's Lennon O'Hare. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. And about 3 years ago, I founded a paranormal research group that, as of now, consists of me, my cousin, and her husband. We've been officially, professionally investigating as a group for 3 years now. We did some smaller stuff before that for a couple of years, but yeah, so about 3 years we've been doing it.
I see. And okay, so question here. How old are you? Are we even legally allowed to have you on here right now?
Yeah, I'm 24.
Okay. All right.
I just looked 17.
Yeah. It dawned on me here a minute ago that we might be having a minor.
We're trying to we're doxing people on the podcast right now. Yeah. Hey, while you're at it, can I have your health insurance and credit card?
Social security number.
Yeah.
Go slow. But I don't know. I just wanted to make sure. But there's also some reasoning behind that. That's a little bit of a show-me way to ask you because a lot of the paranormal investigators that we've had on this program have been kind of on the other end of that spectrum. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You might be the youngest person that we've spoken to.
Yeah.
And that interests me in by itself because
Which way you're going with this, Drew?
I like him young.
All right. End recording.
Okay. What I'm really trying to get at is that I find it interesting that people of all ages kind of can come together on this, and I'm curious how you got into this. How old were you when you first kind of got into the paranormal?
Oh man, I've been interested in the paranormal since I can remember. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to call it. So growing up, the closest person to me in my family was my great uncle, and the guy was like a beacon for all things paranormal. It just was around him and happened to him. Not sure why. And he would tell me these stories when I was a kid, and I lit up about it. It was just everything to me. And growing up, when I started getting to, I don't know, early years of my life, I started noticing things happening to me too. Earliest memory I have of it is I was laying in my bedroom when I was maybe 7, and we had one of those beds that had the little slide out bed underneath, and that bed was slid out, and I was sitting on it. My grandpa was in the doorway talking to me, and this little, I don't know, it was like pitch white, just white as like a paper plate hand reached out and grabbed me and then went back under that bed really quick. And I kind of freaked out, but I kind of froze, and I thought, oh, that's just my mind. And then my grandpa ran and grabbed me, picked me up, and took me out of there and said, "You're all right. That was nothing." So I've had weird stuff happen since I was a kid, and I've always been super interested in it. I'd always watch the shows, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures. There's a paranormal show. I've probably watched it. But I was, I don't know, maybe 18, and I seen an advertisement on Facebook for Indiana State Sanatorium doing public tours. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I can go do a public ghost hunt. That'd be fun. And I went, and I was like, oh, no, this is it. This is what I want to do. And then I was talking to people there. I met Adam Kimmel that night at the place, and I was talking to him, and he was like, no, you can rent places for yourself and do this privately. And actually make it a thing. And then I was like, oh, well, that's it. That's what I'm going to do forever. That's my goal. And then luckily I had family members who were also deep into the paranormal and they wanted to do it with me. And so, yeah, it just kind of all fell into place like that.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know when that started to like really hit as far as public goes, with the buildings and residences that you're able to rent and go in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that, when I was,
I feel like it
getting
was
into this stuff.
when Ghost Hunters started getting really popular. I feel like that started to slowly build off of
I
that.
almost want to go with it. Ghost Adventures is maybe when, when Zach Baggins was just fighting entities in sanitariums. But
I mean, that's what you do
every time.
It's what you do.
But I think it's cool that the industry is kind of created this way to sustain itself. But sometimes I wonder how authentic it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there might be any type of inauthenticity to some of this? How many of these buildings have you maybe investigated or hung out around?
I'd say like commercially like investigated buildings, I've probably been to maybe 20 now.
Okay.
And so I've been to quite a few, and I can say like any unauthenticity as far as like the location goes and the location's owners and whatnot, I haven't experienced anything that would make me think so. In my own personal experiences, like I mean, for me to think something like that, it would have to be something off the wall that I just know, oh, well, that doesn't seem like that actually happens, kind of thing would have to happen for me to think so. And I've never had anything like that happen.
So nobody running around in sheets
No.
down the hallway or anything like that?
No. It's funny you said that.
Giving away our ideas.
It's funny you say that because my dad is just a complete skeptic, non-believer, and I always try to get him to go with me to do one of these investigations, and he that's what he always says. He'll ask me where I'm going. He's like, I'm gonna just show up there randomly, and I'm gonna run through the hallway when you're investigating in a sheet just to scare you. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I sometimes, I mean, I 100% am into it, and I just always, I don't know, question landlords or whatever. There was some drama that I had seen on Facebook play out a couple of weeks ago. I have a lot of paranormal investigators on our Facebook page, and I interact as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I had seen that there was, I guess, a relatively known individual who was charging individuals like yourself to go in on investigations, and he wasn't the owner. He was just being allowed to do this by the owners, and he was not providing refunds or places for people to use.
Oh yeah, I recall that as well.
And the owners were unaware of it, and when they found out about it, seemed upset. And from there, I don't know how the rest of the drama played out, but I thought that was pretty curious that these landowners weren't even really involved with what was going on there. So I myself am what I call a skeptical believer. And basically that just means Stone Cold Steve Austin taught me not to trust anybody.
Yeah.
So you always want to at least analyze, be analytical with everything in the paranormal, in my opinion. And I even kind of apply that to landlords of these operations, and everyone that I've spoken with seems super genuine and really kind and excited to come on. I have some people who run and operate these things coming on in the future, and I'm excited to talk to them about it. But
I mean,
I guess
the thing is, like, there's no issue. I don't have an issue with like the landowners charging some amount of money, right? Because like a lot of that probably that goes to upkeep and taxes and stuff. And if somebody's working with them and providing a tour, I mean, yeah, there should be money involved. But like that, like we said, the story where I don't even think that guy even giving tours. He was just like taking money and go ahead and go in. And
yeah, he was basically the one that these investigators would go to, and he would.
That's the Kentucky guy, right?
I think he was. I guess. he was posting pictures next to all these expensive sports cars and stuff, and he was getting dunked on pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Great.
when I saw that almost kind of reaffirmed, like, oh wait, every business is gonna have folks like this, and you have to stay on your tippy toes to avoid that. And I guess so. You said you've been to 20 of these locations. Which one was your favorite?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I would say Indiana State Sanatorium holds a dear place in my heart because it was my first ever place I went, and I've been there 10 times now, and
Wow.
it's a place I could go to. I would go to it every weekend if I had the money to do it. But I would say that has to be my favorite. And I would also say that one that really piques my interest that I would put in as a close second is Pine Lawn Manor in Illinois.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that location. What's the background and history to it?
It's a relatively new location on the scene. It was a nursing home for the mentally ill for years. I'm trying to remember when it shut down. I believe it shut down in the early 2000s, but I went there once about a year ago, and I became friends with the owner, and I go there every chance I get. And it's just, as far as activity goes, it's one of the most active places I've ever been.
All right, excellent.
I see you were at Bill Manor in Fremont.
Beale Manor is also one of the coolest places there is.
Check out that episode because that's not too far from where I live either. That's pretty. I think it's probably about an hour and a half from Cleveland.
Oh, really?
Maybe?
Yeah. It probably isn't very far from Cleveland. I'll tell you too. Beale Manor is a great location with a lot of very neat activity, and it's an inexpensive one to go to. So if you ever want to try out ghost hunting, that's a great one to do.
Cool. Let's talk about the activity. What constitutes activity for you? Let's kind of get into your style of investigation, so to speak.
I'm like you. I'm very skeptical believer. I think that 95% of reported claims are probably explainable, and there's maybe 5% of paranormal activity happening. So for me, I don't take it as truly credible evidence unless it's audio or visual, just straight audio visual. If I see an apparition or I record a shadow figure, or if I have just a plain audio recorder and I hear a voice, then to me, if it's anything else, it's interesting, but I don't take it as complete, honest activity. Because there's all these devices, REM pods, meters, spirit boxes, there's so much that could influence them to do something other than paranormal that I take it with a grain of salt anytime I get anything with them. I still use them because I have had instances where interesting things do happen. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at Ashmore Estates in Illinois, and we had a spirit box. There was a group of 5 of us, and we had a spirit box say each of our name on command. We would point at the person, ask to say our name, and it would say it clear as day. So there is cool things you can get out of those equipment, but for me, it's mostly just audio and visual is what gets me.
I have a question about that, a follow-up one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not grilling you because
Yeah, no,
I think what you do is fascinating, man. But from a spirit box perspective, I ask every single person who's an investigator about the spirit box because sometimes I can get into it, other times I can't wrap my head around it. And everybody that I've spoken to kind of all say the same thing where, it's largely can be unreliable, but when you hit something, you really hit something. But I guess my question is, and again, I'm not grilling you, I'm just
you're
kind
fine.
of asking, how would that entity know all of your names? How would it have that information and be able to relay it to you? Did you guys communicate that prior, or?
Well, yeah, because I come into every investigation. I'm very respectful to the spirits because I look at it like that's their home. If I'm going into somebody else's living person's home, I'm going to be as respectful as I can. So I do there. So first thing we typically do when we go in, we'll introduce all of ourselves to the spirits and whoever's there. So, because I had one of my buddies who just wanted to come out with us at Ashmore when that happened, and it freaked him out. And he's like, "How does it know our names?" And I'm like, "Well, you think we've been here for 6 hours. We've said our names 100 times. All it had to do is pay attention." So that's my thought behind it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense, and that's kind of what I expected you to say. But I was hoping for that actually. Sometimes if somebody has all the answers, that's when you know that they might be making them up.
Yeah,
so to speak. That's kind of
that's our thing, making stuff up
all the time. Like at the beginning when I said I liked them young, that's made up.
Yeah,
you brought it back up again.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna double down on it. So I guess another question. Another question that I have for you, real quick. Do you only do the commercial places, or do you help with residential buildings, like somebody's house or whatever?
I would like to do, help. I've tried advertising that I'll help with people with home problems they're having, but I just haven't really had anybody requested. I've done one so far, and it was a case of. It wasn't a case of a haunting. It ended up being a case of mental illness and drug abuse. But
okay, that's actually not where I was expecting you to go. I thought you were going to say it was like the fridge and making noise or something.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it was the only one I've done so far. But I would love to get into doing that because I think that would be really cool to be able to help people that are struggling with it.
I feel like at that point, and I'm not an expert on this, so I have no idea, but I feel like at that point, when you start going into people's houses and start dealing with them directly, you probably need like some kind of legal and like some kind of insurance or stuff, right? Like that
I've wondered about that, or maybe even like some sort of hold harmless waivers.
Yeah, some waiver. Yeah.
It's funny. We've had investigators on who have talked about doing that, and we never once thought to ask that question. I'm gonna have to jot that down
right now.
Yeah, I have to jot that down for the next one because this is a fun topic.
I started thinking, like, you think about it. What if they claim you break something? What if you fall down the steps and hurt yourself? What if, I don't know, what if they're hiding in the house and they attack you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and when you go, like the one time I've ever done that house call, that all that ran through my mind before going there is, anything like that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really entering just a domicile that you're
unknown, right?
Somebody's unknown. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we talked our latest episode. We had Vin on. He just went by Vin, and he's in Arizona, and he does a lot of investigations, and he's been doing it for 40 years. And he said that he's kind of over the last few years really focused on phone interviews prior to doing anything in home lately because of all of the the craziness in the world. It's just kind of out there at accelerated rates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Something that, absolutely something to keep in mind when you do eventually get out there and start helping people that, there might be an axe murderer or something going on, or a meth lab that you're walking into.
You never know. It is a bit intimidating, that's for sure.
Yeah. But, it's funny that's something that you find intimidating, but walking into a giant building said to be completely maliciously haunted or something, and you're like, all right, I'm going to call my cousin and we're just going to head on in there.
Yeah.
The world's strongest demon lives in this building. I'm going to go in there, no care in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your idea of like your fun weekend.
Yeah, that's a good Saturday night for me.
But speaking of that, have you ever encountered anything that's like brought you to being trembling or super scary, or like what's like the one encounter that you've had where you might see the D word coming up that we don't
or maybe
say
an
in paranormal
encounter that you
investigating?
don't want, an encounter you don't want to ever have again, maybe even.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have two answers for you here. I'll give you a personal experience and I'll give you a commercial place that I've experienced it at. And it's the only one I've ever been to. The Monroe House in Hartford City, Indiana. I had, I'm still hesitant to say it, but I mean, it's the closest I could get to saying the D word that was demonically, haunted or possessed, whatever you want to say. I mean, I've been to so many places and, you hear people on, TV shows, YouTube channels say that you feel it, you feel things. That was the first time I ever walked in somewhere and I felt like truly, like something, this isn't right. Something's wrong here. And it was immediate as soon as I got in there. It was kind of quiet at first. We started doing an Estes method on the second floor, which is, for anybody listening, it's where you use somebody who plugs in the headphones to a spirit box that are noise canceling so they can't hear the questions you're asking, and you ask questions and they just spit out whatever they're hearing on the spirit box. And it was like you said earlier, when it hits, and it hit there, and it was complete direct responses to everything I'm asking. They were very derogatory responses. They were threatening us. It was telling us, we had two women with us, and I don't know if you can curse on your channel or not, but they were saying very derogatory things to the women.
Oh, what were they?
The words?
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't repeat them. But
Yeah.
we had the door closed, and it said it was telling us to run, and we were, standing our ground saying, no, we're not running, because I thought it was telling us to get out, like, run, get out of here. Come to find out, I think it was a regular spirit warning us of something bad coming, because we heard what sounded like running up the stairwell. And then it said, man, it gives me cold chills, because we heard running coming up the stairs, and then the spirit box no sooner says, he's here. And then the voice switches from a female to a dark male voice saying, open the door. So,
And
I'm like, all right.
You opened that door right up.
Yeah, we opened the door, and then nothing happened for a little bit, though. And so it kind of seemed like it was dying off. And I was like, all right, well, that was just cool, but it wasn't anything crazy. But it was like an earthquake out of nowhere. The whole room shook, like vibrated, and everybody, all 4 or 5 of us, however many were in there, felt it, and we all reacted. We're like, what the heck is going on? And there was on a Nick Groff show, he went there years ago, and that happened. And when I seen it, I was like, yeah, sure. But then I experienced it, and I was like, okay, that was nuts. We all ran downstairs, and we got down there, and my younger brother was with me. And I looked at him, and he was sitting on a chair, and he was like nearly passed out, and his skin was real yellow. He looked like he was jaundiced, and his face was real sunken in. And I was like asking him, "Are you all right?" And he was barely responding to me. And I made the call, executive decision. I said, "All right, we're done here. We're going to leave." So my cousin started praying over my little brother, and me and her husband went to get all of our equipment and pack everything up. And we come back down the stairs with all the equipment. I'm putting equipment right in front of the door into my equipment bag I had, and the door going up the stairwell just slammed shut right in front of me, 3 foot in front of me. And yeah, we left. And that's the closest commercial place I'd say I've ever been to a demon.
That's, man. Okay, so a couple of things to unpack.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
You call it because it's getting too risky, right? You have a person in front of you that's now jaundiced.
Yeah,
someone is praying over them.
Yeah, that's wild.
Okay. Let's not pass over that lightly. Any listeners who just heard him say that, like, that's incredible. Number one. Number two, how do you and just some other dude go and just get your equipment while that's going on? Like, how do you find the nerve to just go throughout this building and collect your things?
Listen,
Jeff, you're cool, bro. We're going to get the shit.
I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty calm and collected during these investigations. I was scared shitless at that moment. When I told him, I was like, I need you to come with me. And I mean, we were like back to back the whole time. Just, we were quick. We weren't spending any time looking around or anything. We were grabbing our shit and getting out of there.
Yeah. And then a door slams right in front of you. Like, so that whole experience, I mean, that's definitely a valid thing to kind of have been frightened of. What happened with your little brother afterward?
It was maybe, I don't know, I'd say 15 minutes. We were on the road after that. And I looked at him and I started talking to him and asking him how I feel. And he was like, I feel fine now. I feel great. I feel back to normal. It was so strange because like I said, I'm very skeptical about stuff. So all that stuff was new to me and something I didn't really believe could happen until I witnessed it. You know what I mean? So that was a real shocking experience for me.
Yeah, and that had
to be clear, there's not really like any any emergency medical event that would cause you to instantly go jaundice that I can think of off the top of my head. Like that's a progressive condition, right? You don't just fall over and boom, you're yellow. It doesn't work like that. So
I don't think that happens, and I don't think it comes and goes within a half hour either.
No, man. Once you're yellow, you're sitting in Chicago Med.
Yeah.
And so that's not. There was nothing left over or residual effects for him or anything.
No, he was. He quit investigating, and he won't do it now. Since then, and he was.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And he had a lot of. At first, he was having minor experiences at home, noises and things moving, but it didn't last for long, and nothing major happened.
Okay.
I feel like I'd have PTSD from
that would.
That.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like I mean, he was originally a member of the group, and that did it in for him. He couldn't do it anymore.
I wonder if experiences like that or something like a shark attack where he'll find peace of mind by going back.
I wonder that as well. And I guess there is a benefit to him too, I don't know if you guys are or not, but he became very religious after that. And that's actually brought him a lot of peace in life. So I guess there was good that came out of it for him.
Yeah, I don't have a rosary around my neck right now, but we are.
It's not a rosary. You can't wear. You're not supposed to wear rosaries around your neck.
But
I got it tatted on my hand, so it's there for life.
Yeah.
To go back to the shark attack thing, though, like, what if you go back to the shark attack and you just get attacked by the shark?
Well, generally that doesn't happen. So.
Okay, literally, show me the statistics, Mr. Shark Expert.
I can very easily. Those are very easy to find. But that's
he watches Shark Week every year, so
for 30 years at least. But that's a whole different podcast that we could get into. The Shark Week / Starry Soda podcast.
Yeah, you can count me in on that one.
Nobody knows about the Starry Soda, so you're just bringing up inside jokes.
But I'm okay with that.
Sprite's better.
But it's not. But another thing I wanted to kind of address from what you said in that scenario, right? You said you watched Nick Groff on a television show.
Yes.
And there was some vibrating stuff that happened, and you're like, that's kind of bullshit. And then you experienced it. Okay, and it was in that same location. So, number one, we talk about sensationalism a lot on these television shows because it's there. It's undeniable.
Absolutely.
It's gotten worse over the 20 so years that these shows have been really prevalent. And the entertainment value is certainly something that you can't ignore because that's what brings viewers. But from an investigative standpoint, you do have to question what you see. But now, number one, you have now validated that that was something that you saw on his program that you experienced. So, in a way, I feel like that validates Nick Groff a little bit. And I'm not just saying that because he beefs with Zach Baggins.
What do you got against Zach Baggins? He fights ghosts, man.
I don't know.
Have you ever fought a ghost?
I get it.
I don't even really have anything.
I'm gonna start a podcast with Zach Baggins. I'm tired of this.
I feel gatekeepy with him. Like he wouldn't be allowed to hang out with us. Like,
no, he would as long as we just play Nickelback nonstop.
Right. But now I'm also wondering. So check this out. All right. You saw this happen at this location. So it was then implanted into your brain. Do you think it's possible that could have occurred because this entity was aware that you had seen it happen on the television and then did that as a way to kind of set the groundwork for whatever attacks it was going to bring your way?
You know, I've pondered about that event quite a lot, and I've wondered, you know, kind of similar to what you just asked, I've wondered if maybe we mentioned it beforehand or sometime during the night in that house, and it said, you know, maybe it heard me say that didn't happen, or that probably didn't happen, and it was like, oh yeah, watch this.
Okay, yeah.
Not sure. I'm not. I think you're probably on the right track. That's something that I think it was a kind of I'll show you type of thing, you know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out if anybody's listening who maybe have also been at this location, the Monroe House, and if they experience something like that too, and that's maybe something that does happen there with whatever is causing it, or if this can literally bring a person to jaundice within minutes, I would think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for it to kind of pick your brain a little bit for something that's going to start to frighten you.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a very deep. I don't know if infestation is probably not the word to use, but that's like a very deep dwelling for it to be able to change. I mean, it's affecting your internal organs if you're jaundice, right? Like, so something's not. It's not just simply, oh look, he's got an entity and he's flailing his arms like he's sick.
Yeah, I think that's even probably different than the entity scratches that you see a lot.
Yeah. It was something that I didn't think could happen, and
yeah, it's wild.
But you said that you had another example that wasn't commercial. I'd love to hear that one.
Actually, prior to me ever investigating or anything, I was a teenager, and my home life with my parents, we were going through tough financial struggles. So to ease things, I moved out and I moved in with my buddy and his parents. And, they kind of told me that they had bad stuff that would happen in their house, such as that. And I had several experiences of my own there that were it makes me lean towards the D word too. He had a little brother who was maybe 3 or 4 at the time, and he had an imaginary friend that he called Jason that said would, yeah, I know. And he said
Jasons are never good.
Yeah, that's true. But he said that Jason lived on his ceiling, and that's how he came in and out of the house, was through a hole in the ceiling in his room. Which is creepy enough on its own, But I was laying in bed one night, and I was trying to go to sleep, and I felt somebody grab me like by my upper thigh and like kind of yank on my leg. And I thought it was my buddy messing with me or something. So I turned and I was like, hey, and I see that my door's shut, nobody's in there. And I was like, oh, that's wild. So I kind of just tried to ignore it, went back to bed. Next night, I was sitting on the porch with his little brother, and me and him were just talking. How 3 and 4 or 4-year-olds do. They don't really make much sense. But out of nowhere, he goes, Jason grabbed you last night. And man, talk about cold chills. I hadn't told a single person this happened. And this kid looked at me and told me that. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, Jason, he touched you. And I was like, where did he touch me? And he put his hand right on my leg where I got grabbed. And he
Wow.
said, Jason wanted to hurt you. I told him not to because you're my friend. And that was pretty wild. And
Yeah.
there was multiple experiences of people being scratched, waking up with the stereotypical 3 scratches on them somewhere. My buddy
no cats or anything, right?
no cats. My buddy woke up, I mean, from his shoulder blade to, all the way to his lower back, there's 3 scratches, went straight down. And we watched my buddy's little brother start crying on the couch one day and watched as 3 scratches developed on his face in front of us. So that house had something, whether demonic or not, I'll say it was evil, whatever it was. But yeah.
Do you think it was all this Jason character?
I wondered that, but I would say I've heard stories about kids being more sensitive to the things than we are.
Sure.
So I think I would accredit it to it. I would say.
Sounds like something Jason would do.
Yeah, it sounds like a Jason thing.
Yeah. Jason touching your leg sounds like Jason at a college party.
Yeah, that's right.
Say something, Drew. Uh-oh. Well, this is now my podcast. I'm in charge. That's what we're doing.
I was talking the whole time. I was muted.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard you for a while.
You're gonna have to repeat.
I muted myself because I still have this cold, and I didn't want to have like my weird, gross cold symptoms on the microphone.
Still have the cold, but I will say that I'm glad that you're not wearing the neck brace anymore. Still,
more inside jokes.
Yeah, sorry.
So you had said that you had when you were young, you saw this gray hand that kind of reached out from underneath.
White. It was white as a paper
plate.
Yeah.
White as a paper plate. My bad. Did you have other experiences like that when you were young? Because, like you had mentioned, there is obviously that theory that children are more, adept to this kind of scenario with the attacks and whatnot. But basically, you said your grandfather had all these experiences, and so I guess I'm wondering if maybe there might be like some type of empath stuff that's being passed down to you.
What was with the thing where, like, when he grabbed you from the room, whenever you saw that white hand, and he almost acted like he knew what it was?
Yeah, it was strange to me, and I think it was just he was trying to get me out of there comforted, because he was also probably like, what the hell is that? Because my grandpa wasn't the one that had all the experiences. It was his brother, my great uncle, who did. And I can think of several things that happened when I was a kid, but it was like few and far between, but they were all pretty like out there things that happened. For instance, I was with that same uncle that I was talking about, and he was a paraplegic, and I was staying the night with him. And so he didn't have a caregiver there, and so he can't get out of his bed and into his chair on his own, and I'm a child. I can't really help him. And it sounded like somebody broke in the house. There was things moving and banging around in the living room. He's hollering down the hallway. I've called 911. I called my dad, because my dad lives right down the road. My dad gets there. Cops get there. They go through the house. No signs of entry, no broken windows. Doors are all locked. Windows are all locked. But it was clear as day somebody was in there moving things, banging stuff around. I mean, it was pretty substantial. And, that was something that he experienced all the time on his own. But I happened to be there for it that time.
Jason.
It's that Jason guy.
Damn it, Jason.
So what do you guys do? What's the follow-up to when you see that occur? How do you come down from that?
As a kid, it was really hard to, and it stayed with you for a while, and you were scared for a long time afterwards. I didn't like going in that house anymore after that, especially, because I used to stay the night with him all the time. And after that, I didn't want to anymore, because, he would go to bed, I couldn't sleep, and it freaked me out. So it really stuck with me as a kid, and it was hard for me when I was a kid when I seen that hand to sleep in my own bedroom anymore. So
Yeah,
it was,
I get that 100%.
yeah, it was difficult for me, but
Still hard for me.
yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like I'm somewhat desensitized to it at this point. So
Right.
like a typical, I don't really get too freaked out on investigations now. Really, I mean, there's certain situations, of course, I do, but for the most part, you know, pretty wild stuff can happen. I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected now.
I mean, after experiencing that kind of stuff, I'm sure that you would build up a resilience pretty easily. What did
Yeah.
you guys do after the kid gets the developed scratches right in front of you? What did you guys do after that?
Well, the kid's mother, she got angry. She went back into his bedroom, and was screaming and calling out the entity, and they ended up having a
Back bagging style.
yeah, that's right. But she ended up having a lady come out to cleanse the house. Interesting thing about that for me was when I met that lady, she walked in and she looked at me and she's like, "You're sensitive, aren't you?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And she's like, "I think you are." And I didn't really put anything to it until maybe a year ago. My wife asked me, she's like, "I know you don't think you're sensitive, but you sure have a lot more paranormal stuff happen to you than the average person."
Yeah,
And so
that's
maybe I am somewhat sensitive. I just don't like hear and see things like I see people on TV talk about.
yeah. I was wondering about that. That's kind of where I was going when
Mhm.
I had brought the hand and stuff up again, because if somebody, I feel like if somebody goes in multiple places and they all just tend to be haunted, there's probably a common denominator in that person, whether
Mhm.
you're aware of it or not, um, that brings it out, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's
And
what I've wondered too. Is what's strange about it is anytime I've heard of psychics or mediums or anything, they can see and hear stuff. But for me, another reason I never thought about it is it seems that when I experience stuff, places I go, whoever's with me also does. So it's almost makes me wonder if something about me, for whatever reason, causes activity to happen that it's not just in my head. Other people will experience it too.
they're kind of like a lightning rod, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
And you just
have you ever
draw it
had
in.
have you ever had a experience happen like in a place that you would never expect it to? Like an Arby's, or I'm just throwing some, no, just like it's just like you were somewhere and you were just hanging out with friends and it was never supposed to be anything like paranormal and then all of a sudden something happened.
It's funny because right now I'm trying to think of somewhere that I haven't even. I don't know that I can think of a house that I haven't really had something happen at. To be honest with you, even if it's something minor, like
You're causing it.
it's my fault. I'm a bad guy. I'm causing people's houses to be haunted.
You're Jason.
I can say, man, I've had, at friends' houses, my childhood home. I had that happen at, and then the home we moved into later in life. I always say it's the weirdest haunted house in the world because something happens once every 3 years there, and it doesn't just happen to me; it happens to other people in my family that live there. My
So on
sister,
like
my mother.
a 3-year scale.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's like it's so random and out of nowhere, and it's usually something pretty. Like I've seen 2 full body apparitions in my lifetime, and one was there, and it was the strangest thing. I was laying in my dad's room trying to go to bed, and he has 2 closets on either side of his bed on the wall in front of the bed. And I seen something in the corner of my eye, and I leaned over, looked at it, and there was. I always say it looked like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Is what it looked like. It was like a tall, skinny guy with brown hair and a yellow shirt on. Was leaned out of that closet, just kind of staring at me, and I looked at it for like 4 whole seconds, and then just leaned back in the closet. And I was like, okay. And that was the first time anything paranormal was ever happened in that house that I knew of. And I was like, okay, what was that about? And I told everybody about it, and they're all like, nothing. This place ain't haunted. You're crazy. And then,
It is now.
yeah, now people, yeah,
You're welcome.
joke's on you. I stayed here. It's haunted now.
Oh man, I don't know how I would react to a Sheldon Cooper looking ghost kind of
I
leaning,
know.
leaning out of the
I'm shooting everything.
doing math equations in the closet while I'm trying to go to sleep.
It's my mom swears that it was my dad's father. Now, that was his house that he passed away in, actually, but she said that's what he looked like when he was young, was real tall, lanky, and kind of goofy looking. So whether it was or not, I don't know, but that's what she thinks.
I think sometimes in that situation, people kind of comfort themselves, and that's an easy way to do it. It's like, oh, well, that's uncle this or grandpa that, because it's easier to digest that it's not some mimic in your house that's taking shape of something to convince you that it's safe and harmless.
Yeah, and see, I have like kind of opposing views to something like that, because in my own experience from all the investigating I've done, I think that paranormal activity is quite closely, if not entirely, entangled to like tragedy and something like I don't think that somebody that just peacefully dies in their home is a spirit. It seems like everything I've experienced is tied into something traumatic that happened. It's never, like I said, like somebody, my grandma passed away peacefully at 95 in her sleep. I never hear about that. So when I hear that, like my mom said it's my grandpa, I'm like, I don't think it is. I don't think it's something malicious, but I don't think it's my grandpa.
Yeah, that's a good theory. I think there's a lot of working theories that kind of center around the idea that trauma is what keeps us here. And I don't know. I guess maybe I'm thinking of the movie Ghost, but like it's like working through those traumas to get to that next level or whatever kind of purgatory that you're stuck in. That's definitely something that I could buy into. How many of the like the tragic urban legends of the brides walking down the road at midnight or whatever because they jumped off of a cliff because their grooms left them or something. There's
or Crybaby Bridges. Those are another good example, right?
It's kind of one of those things where there's smoke.
Definitely,
it might be fire.
Right? Yeah,
I definitely buy into the theories. And then again, going back to the D word and stuff, with tragedy comes pain and a lot of times anger and hatred, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a lot of cases, and again, not saying every instance is the D word, but I think that when things like that stew and like how do you resolve things like that it starts to invite that kind of negative energy into those situations, and then maybe the D word does find its way in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it could be so negative that it almost then becomes, it kind of manifests itself as something similar to that as well.
And I always my dad is very religious, and he always told me that demons and the devil will attack you when you're vulnerable, and I think that that's probably people's most vulnerable times is around those tragic events and such. So that is a good way to, I guess, interject themselves in a situation where people are vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, that theory is very credible, and I guess I don't know, man. I feel like I consider myself lucky in the sense that I haven't experienced anything too traumatic as far as the paranormal goes. I have had your random encounters, but nothing that has ever put me to a point of feeling super creeped out or felt like I was in danger. I certainly didn't have jaundice from any
Yeah.
experiences. But as far as like being sensitive goes or empath, I can't. It's been so many episodes ago at this point. We had a psychic on. Her name is Dr. Rita Luis, and she was one of our first guests. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was she had said that we all have these abilities. It's just the matter of learning how to use them correctly and kind of be one with it. So I think maybe, I mean, from the sounds of it, you could just be one of these people that you're just in tune. And if you started to tune yourself to it, you might then be able to even kind of create a situation where maybe on your investigations you could be there almost as a medium. And
Yeah. I've thought about that too. I've thought about trying to, because I know there's resources out there you can take advantage of for people who will kind of teach you to kind of harness and hone those abilities. And I've even thought about giving it a try just to see.
I've considered it myself for a multitude of reasons. Um, I'm one of those people. I had somebody directly tell me everywhere you go is haunted, and 17, 18 years later, that still sticks in my brain. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, everywhere I go, it does end up kind of haunted. But there might be something to that. But again, nothing crazy or evil or anything like that. And
I think I'm just gonna play it cool, and I'm not gonna get involved. I'll let you guys do it, and I'll research and talk to you.
The thing about it, as far as finding a teacher goes, again, and we come back to, a skeptical believer. I wonder how much of that it might be somebody taking advantage of you as well. Like that's not exactly an industry where you can check their Better Business Bureau rating.
Yeah, because if I'm being honest, I've interacted with several, psychics in my time in the paranormal field, and I've not really been convinced by any. So that's something that holds me back from trying that is the worry that I'm just going to be taken advantage of, and I'm going to pay somebody or something for pretty much nothing.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a spirit box scenario where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you're not really going to get the authentic thing, but then when you have the authentic thing, again, it when it hits, it hits. So I've tried to get lots of psychics on this show. It's something that I'm definitely generally interested in. Maybe
I'll put
the rest
I'll
of
put the challenge out. Let's do it. Let's put the challenge out. Here's my stance on psychics, and it's psychics only, is that I am not yet convinced. Prove me wrong.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it is.
To me, the psychic field, just specifically like the card readers and the future predictors, not necessarily like the out of body experience people, specifically the stereotypic psychic. Prove me wrong. Come on here and prove me wrong, because I've not convinced by any of the studies that have been done by any of the psychics currently out there. I'm not demeaning any of them, but let's do it. Come on and prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I'm not putting any of them down because I think that's something for me to be convinced. I'd have to have a personal experience with them to be like, okay, yeah, you couldn't know that. There's no way. But I can see them do it to 100 people on TV or YouTube all day long and be like, that could be staged. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Likewise, the John Edwards of the world, the cold readers, I don't know. I'm not even gonna say I don't know how much I can buy into it. Like obviously we know what cold reading is. Now a medium who is going on location with you and helping you and getting information in that regard. I think that's honestly a different kind of psychic, a different level.
Yeah, well, that's why I said the stereotypical psychic kind of, future reader, palm readers, things like that. Like, get out of here.
And again, here on this podcast, we're open to it all. And
I'm open to it. I didn't mean don't come on here. Please come on here because I want you to come on here and shit talk me and prove me wrong.
I like very much have been trying to get psychics on. It's just been difficult. We've had one, and it was a good show. It went well. She was.
I think it's a super interesting. Yeah. I think
She
it's a
was
super
cordial and-
interesting topic, but I'm just not convinced. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the subject. Like I said, it's the one subject of the paranormal field that I think the least convinced in out of everything else. Being skeptical, believer, it's the one thing that it's like I take it or leave it for me.
Yeah.
But I still want to talk to you. Yes, please still come on here. I'm not telling you not to come on the podcast.
Meanwhile, if you have these methods that you could take as a lightning rod to all of these Jasons around you, why not give it a go and see if hey man, if you're a conduit, you're a conduit. You were put here on the planet to be a conduit for a reason. Take advantage and help how you can help.
I feel like I'm the opposite. Like I'm the Faraday cage of like paranormal. I out of all my experiences, probably most of them could be explained. The only one that I have, and I haven't told the story, so I'll make it very quick. Since Drew always tells his UFO story, and I'm surprised he hasn't done that yet. Every podcast.
You're gonna have to tell me that because I'm obsessed with UFOs.
Oh boy. So when I was a teenager, we used to do dumb teenager stuff. And one of those things was we'd actually go around to like graveyards and stuff at night. Now we never damaged anything. We never did anything like that. So we found a new graveyard, and I'm not going to give the location out because the reason is that there's an abandoned coal mining town. And this is in Western PA. So good luck Googling that. There's a ton of them. But we found this abandoned coal mining town via this graveyard. We went through the graveyard and then come out the other side of the brush and that. And there was this there was like a couple rows of houses, couple streets, all abandoned. So it's like midnight and we're like, let's go in and check these out. So most of them were just dumb, like falling down. They were dangerous. So most of them we either didn't go into, or if we did, we were on the first level, just walking around with flashlights, nothing. So we get to this one house and I remember it because it was like this light green color. And it was the only one that wasn't like a brown, gray, or a white. Okay. So we go in this house, and we're looking around, and I find a closet that has like suits and stuff in it. And I was like putting on the suit jackets, like trying them on and like modeling them. And we're standing there, and out of nowhere, the temperature, it was probably about 60 degrees out because this was like in the summer. Out of nowhere, it literally is like frigid in this house. And like you said about that feeling that you get, like that guttural, like, this, I shouldn't be here. I should not be messing around with this stuff kind of thing. Just overcame all of us. And we were just like, let's go home. Now, that was all that happened, but it was just this realization among like me and 3 or 4 other people at the exact same time. Because I remember I was upstairs and somebody downstairs was like, hey, I don't think we should be in here. And everybody agreed. And we were like, yeah, let's just stop messing with stuff and get out of here. So that's about it. Like, I don't have any crazy, really paranormal stories. My mom did. My great grandmother floating in bed. I'd never heard that story before.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. She told me that at Christmas dinner. So
that's the most casual time to tell you. Yeah.
And that was it. There's nothing added to that story either. She's just like, yeah, one time your great grandmother said she floated in bed.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I don't know how to process that. Can you pass me the mashed potatoes?
What do we do about that? But can I have some more gravy?
But yeah, man, it's like it happens to everybody. And so like if you're able to harness that to kind of control it or figure out how to do it, I think that's totally a tool that we should all look into, being more at one with the universe and centered. It doesn't even necessarily have to mean that you're trying to be a lightning rod for your ghostly activity or anything like that. I just think like, man, who knows, maybe something like that could lead you to the answers of the universe, not to get too esoteric with it or anything like that. But we just kind of hit that hour mark. That flew by.
Yeah, that was a quick hour. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for Lennon at all before we let him plug his stuff?
Nah, plug away unless he has any cool stories he wants to tell that we missed.
I don't think so.
Could always save it for another episode too.
Yeah, I would love to come back on. So yeah, we'll do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. That's a good idea. So our listeners, this was his first podcast appearance. So that's a Sasquatcher's first for us as
Yeah.
well. And so we'll have you back because this was fun. And
It was fun. Yeah.
like we said, it just blew right by. And so your organization, the Midwest Supernatural Research Organization, go ahead and take a moment and plug, get your links out. I will include them in all descriptions and everything when this episode does go up. But go ahead and floor is yours, man.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, Midwest Supernatural. We try to put out our content as quick as we can. It's pretty difficult because I'm pretty over analytical about how it looks and everything, so it takes me a while to finish an episode. But yeah, you can watch our content on there. And like I said, I would really like to do house calls and help people. If you're within reason distance from me in the Midwest, if you want to reach out to us on our Facebook, it's Midwest Supernatural Research Organization. We would love to work with you and give you a hand if you need. But yeah, that's our socials. And yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, awesome. Anytime moving forward. We had a good time here. This was an easy episode, and I want everybody to check them out and follow up on that. And we're gonna go ahead and hit the outro button, and we will see everybody next time.
Thanks for squatching.
Squatch you later.